All right, guys, welcome back to the show. It's Titus Thomas, and today we got a special guest on, and we've been trying to get more on. It's just line up people's schedules is kind of hard, so you have to hear us yak all the time. But I'm pretty excited about talking to Kevin today. Every time we talked to him, when I talked to him on the phone, we just almost can't stop. So welcome to the show today, Kevin.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to do this.
So you got to tell everybody, because I was sitting there in my brain today thinking, how am I going to say we met? Because we both know it was through Instagram, but I don't know how it just like evolved into more, instead of me just, man, you're a mallard slayer, into now we're sending little messages and then we're talking on the phone and now we're doing a podcast. I don't know how that evolved.
Yeah, well, I remember, I think the first time it was definitely IG. It was in October. Actually, I think I was up in Idaho at the time, and I got that IG about, are you a pro drive dealer in California?
Yeah. That's right. Okay.
And then that's where it spawned, and that's where we just kind of had some dialogue from there all the way to the end of the season. And
gotcha. And then you post in your stories every day with like 6 dozen mallards, Drake mallards,
we're following
stacked
each other from afar,
stalking each other. No, but I kind of went to today. Just we've kind of talked about a little bit. Just kind of wanted to go over just hunting mallards. I mean, there was a deal I seen, and we're just gonna kind of go wherever the wind takes us. But there was a deal I seen the other day about people talking about what they were kind of getting into a little bit aggressively, and it was social media about. They don't understand why people are so into mallards and why.
Have they ever hunted mallards?
No. This was some. No. I don't want to say who it was, but it was something I was really surprised. It was. I'm not gonna say what it was, but it was something that is kind of the leadership of waterfowl hunting, and they were trying to kind of make it sound like that social media has ruined duck hunting because they put hunting mallards on a pedestal.
On a pedestal?
Making it sound like it's the main one. Because what was going on, and I'll tell you later, Kevin, but what was going on is because of St. Patrick's Day was Tuesday, I think.
Oh, yes.
Do you know what I'm kind of talking about now?
Well, I didn't see it, but I did see everybody kind of,
which is fine.
Kind of follow, I mean, right? They posting some green.
Yeah,
right?
It's like, who cares? I mean, But there was some outdoor groups that were kind of negative on them. I don't know if they
really.
I was really shocked. I was like, I've never even heard anybody talk like that. I mean, I feel like we're the kind of weird ones. Like some people are into divers. Some people are, they only want to shoot what they really like. Enjoy. Like some people are saying, hey, I only like to eat green wing teal. I mean, hey, everybody has their thing, but I just thought that was pretty interesting. I don't know if you had seen any of that.
I hadn't. I did see all the green, or like I said, from who I follow, but a little strange. I mean,
some places that's the only bird predominantly that people even get to hunt. So that just doesn't make sense to me either.
A ducking legend. I mean, that we didn't create. I mean, the mallard's just been one of the most sought after ducks out there. Really, it's like the king.
Well, let's get into that. Why? Let's talk about that a little bit. Why is the mallard the most? And I'm agreeing with you. Trust me.
I mean,
let's do it. Let's talk about that.
I mean, I don't know if I have the answer of why it's such the king. I mean,
well, why is it for you? Although you said you're not a mallard purist, I know that.
Well,
but
yeah. I mean, it, and the IG might conflict that, but I do love me some widgeon. That's my favorite duck of choice. But I mean, where I shoot typically, I mean, is the Delta. That's kind of where I cut my teeth, and that's kind of what's predominantly down there where I'm at. I do have some teal coming through, and some widgeon and all the species, but typically where I go in the Delta, I'm getting the shots on the mallards for the most part, or I have the opportunity to shoot at 7 and maybe let some widgeon or teal go. You kind of judge it by the day, by what's kind of flying. If I'm going to have to maybe go, shoot a little more, different species type. But
what makes widgeon your favorite to hunt?
I don't know. It just started as a kid. It was just very pretty, I guess. Maybe it was the whole look of them. And then as you start getting older, I mean, when you're ducking and, you're maybe not the best caller setup, mallards can be, a little harder to get. And widgeon used to always do it right a lot of the times. You can fool them a bit. They'd come in really good,
Yep.
They were kind of a saving bird, I think, for a lot of duck hunters, as far as maybe gather up a limit, you get a flock to come in, you can drop maybe 2 or 3 out of it, they kind of save the day type of bird, responsive to a call, even a mallard call, when you kind of drag out that hen, try to mimic that hen widgeon, right? You could do some, and they respond to the whistle. So I don't know, it just kind of is what it is. I can't really put a finger on it. It was just,
so you like the way they work.
They work great.
Yeah, they're responsive. They work.
Yeah. Pretty, I don't know. I just grew up liking the wedge.
Yeah.
A lot of people grow up, a lot of old timers, and they love the sprig, I'm like, yeah, sprig's nice, but
that one,
I think
that one pintail limit hurts it though, huh? A little bit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a whole nother conversation. That's a whole nother podcast. We could talk about, the whole drama we have out here on, particularly in California,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we definitely going to have to get around to that conversation.
Yeah. So a lot of our hunters out here, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. So on mallard hunting, I just kind of like to hear your thoughts. I mean, there's so much I feel like we could talk about on it, and we do talk about hunting mallards a lot and the challenge of it. And like you said, I feel this way. I could be totally wrong, but I feel like they are smarter and a little tougher to hunt. So I think that's what draws me to want to hunt them, because they've outsmarted me so many times that you got that draw there. But what's some things that you could give us? And I'm gonna make you do this off the cuff. But what's some tips and advice you could give to people out there listening? Maybe they're brand new hunters, maybe they haven't been hunting very long, that could help. And I'm talking about from anything from calling to areas to look for. And I'm not just talking about the Delta. I'm talking about in general. What are you looking for? How do you target mallards? How do you hunt them? How do you call to them? All that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I think a lot of this too comes from just doing it for so long. Like your brother being a journeyman, he had 4 years of apprenticeship, right? And then he's still learning, so it's kind of like, I could say, yeah, if you're just getting into it, I could tell you some stuff, but there's stuff that just kind of you have to grow into. You've got to see and do and understand and read birds and know what they like. And we know what mallards like. Mallards like to be by themselves. They like those tuck spots, right? And we all know sprig like that more open water, right? They'll get into some pockety areas, but so you just kind of know what they like. And I grew up in the Delta. That's kind of a mallard backyard, Tule marsh, out in other parts of the country, it's like timber, but out here, it's the Tules, and they like to be by themselves. They like to be exclusive. And I just try to make things look real. From all the years of me hunting and coming around corners and jumping birds and this, that, I just try to take those mental pictures. Honestly, it sounds kind of hokey, but, just try to make it look real, kind of know what these ducks want to hear. You got a lot of guys, and I'm going to say some young guys, there's older guys too, but love to hear themselves call, and calling's a big portion of it is, but, you got to read the birds too. It sounds like a broken record. Everybody says it, but it's true. You got to read those birds, just because you sound good or you've been on stage before doesn't mean you need to blow at everything. That's my biggest thing is guys coming in, they feel like they got to do so much. You're in their backyard. What I say the Delta is, right? They want to be there.
Yeah.
Let them get down to you and then maybe bark them in. Right? You're already where they want to be for the most part, right? Why give yourself up when they're 200 yards away, and just kind of traverse in a marsh, when they get kind of close, give them a little something, sometimes like that. And, it's a little different out here, I think, too. We don't get the weather like a lot of these other regions do, right? Where these birds have to be get on a real pattern to eat.
Yeah.
Or,
right.
They kind of just do what they want out here. You know that for the most part, right? We don't get the cold weather for these birds to, have to go here. Like what makes my tule patch or a place I like to shoot better than the next tule patch out there?
Well, me and Thomas were talking about that today. It's like, okay, I'm a pilot and I fly in this area now, but I've flown all the way up past Modesto. I've flown up in Northern California as in a helicopter and getting that really good bird's eye view. And I told Thomas how we were talking about how you got the south end of the grasslands and then it runs all the way up to the Delta. And I said, we've talked about this so many times. What in the world makes these ducks out of all the tule patches, the hundreds of thousands of acres of tule patches they could land in, why in the world do they come land in ours? I mean, it literally seems impossible. Like, it's never going to happen. Like, when you're flying around in the air looking down at it, it gives me perspective. I'm like, I cannot believe we even kill birds. I mean, it just shows you that there's hundreds of thousands of birds migrating and moving around. I mean, like
moving around. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's obviously something you're doing that does attract them down, right?
Well, yeah. I'm also in areas where, those mallards really want to be in the Delta, and there's, I'm on this island, so to speak. And I'm in spots that I think, could do better than others. But if I was pushed out of a spot, I could still go and probably get some birds because I'm roughly in the same area. You know what I mean? I might just have to get on them a little harder, but yeah, it's just kind of what makes a patch different. It's just kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling here, but
that's what we were.
I've got places I really like to go to. I know how the birds work, and I'm just kind of dialed in there. But if I get kicked out of a spot, and it did kind of happen this year, I wasn't kicked out. Someone had beat me. I moved off of where I really like to go, and I ended up finishing before those guys. And it was two guys, and it was only me. But I had to get set up because it took me a while to get set up since that spot was taken. And,
but what would you attribute that to, though? Because, like I said, the new people that are listening to that, I understand what you're saying, but maybe they don't. They probably don't. So what would you attribute that to? Your calling, your decoy setup, or, I mean, what? Like, how'd you do that?
It's probably all those. I really, really hide. I mean, because this was my mindset, right? Let's just start from Canada, from Alberta. They're getting hammered there. The birds that make it out of Washington, Montana, Idaho, Oregon, they get down into California. They've ran a gauntlet. And in California, it's like almost on every corner, there's going to be a duck hunter, right? So you better be on your P's and Q's, or at least that's my mindset all the time, right? A lot of guys think, I got a boat blind. I'll just set it up against the tules. We'll be fine. Nah, you'll get some birds, but that really doesn't work. You got to put in some work. I'm into doing the work, and not that other guys aren't, but I just really try to hide myself to a T. So those birds aren't leaving off of my spread because of me. It's because maybe they just didn't like it. Right. So I think it's a combination of hiding. I try to be as realistic, like with my setup, and it may look good to me and maybe not to somebody else, but if I like it, then I'm confident in it. And if it comes down to the decoys, I'm about my decoys too. I keep them clean, and I love me some avian. I'm all about because they look so real to me. You know what I mean? So the decoys, they're always clean, the setup, the hiding, and how maybe I put out mojos or, and my calling, I'm really kind of passive on calling. I'm not aggressive by any means. I kind of read the birds. If they're not, you guys have been doing it long enough. You know how birds are flying, if they kind of want to work or not. And there's probably been more birds than I know that I probably could have called in, but I didn't because they didn't look right, But if I would have got on them, maybe they would have came, or been more aggressive. But it's just kind of is what it is. I just try to, if these birds are looking kind of good, I'll get on them a little and just kind of let them work themselves in, for the most part,
because they see the decoys, so it's...
Yeah, they see the deeks, and again, I'm coming back to, I'm in areas we're in areas where they kind of want to be. So you don't have to do too much. You just, more guys, I think, scare these birds than anything. Because you do have guys around, so you feel like you got to call more, call louder, call,
like you got to beat those other guys.
Yeah.
And then doing that, you're just hurting everybody.
Yeah, right. And there's the other variables of, you got guys coming in on you, so you're confusing birds too, because maybe these guys don't respect the distance, right? So I really try to be away from people as best I can. A lot of people don't really abide to that. A lot of guys feel like, if they're not in that spot or their spot or a spot they like, they have nowhere else to go. So they kind of end up camping on you, which ruins it for both of us, really, So trying to get away from folk, trying to be realistic with my setup and hiding to a T, it may take me till shoot time to set up my boat blind, but that's just what I feel like I have to do. And a lot of guys that hunt with me say I'm over the top, but.
Well, I seen your blind setups a couple. You sent me 4 or 5 pictures. Yeah. I was like, dude, you can't tell there's anything there, and
and that's how I try to be. I mean, because I don't want these birds leaving my spring.
You don't want to give them a reason. Exactly. But that's the thing is, like, here's my thought, and I'm going to be honest with some feelings I have about hiding sometimes, and it's wrong. It's totally wrong, and I can't gripe about not shooting birds if I don't take the time, and that is, okay, what if the birds aren't going to be here today, and I do all this work, but what if they are going to be there, and you did all that work, now you are going to be shooting the birds, so it really just comes down to being lazy or maybe not being out there in time, and you're rushing yourself, and it's almost shoot time too.
You got a lot of guys like, I get out there early. I had a couple guys beat me this year because they slept out there. I think they knew I would probably be out there, so I'm setting the tone out there for some guys because I don't mess around. I don't mess around. But that's just me. Like, if you go out there, like you said, what if I go out here and do all this work and nothing happens? That's never crossed my mind, Titus. Never crossed my mind. If it's just, it's the same every time. It's 0 to 100. That's all I could do. I can't half it. I can't half it. You know what I mean? Even if it doesn't produce, that's just kind of how I've been wired with it. But a lot of guys too, they do get out there. I'm glad you brought it up. Get out there, to me, which is considered a little late, to shooting time. You know what I mean? They don't give themselves the time to set up.
Yeah. Because
maybe they didn't want to get up that extra hour early, right? So a lot of the stuff too, like, Titus, what am I doing different? I use avian. Well, a lot of people use avian. Right. I blow this duck call. A lot of guys blow that duck call. I have, it's certainly not the boat that's killing me ducks. It's, but I mean, so I put on my waders one boot at a time too. So what am I doing different?
Yeah.
It's really just.
I think that hide is such. I mean, obviously it's more than just hide, but I mean that is huge.
Yeah.
Huge. And, I mean I don't remember how much or if any that you said you've ever really hunted on the refuge has pretty much been like on the Delta and stuff, and then out of state, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So like
the refuges were years ago.
Yeah. So on the refuge, and I'm not saying I've never been guilty of doing this, and people may have thought this of us, but it's like a lot of times you'll be in there hiding, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna call it. We shot our limit, or maybe we're just done for the day, and we only shot 4 or 5 birds, whatever it is. We're getting up to get out, and everybody, you walk down the banks and the levees, and you see everybody just standing up in the wide open, spinners still going, decoys are out. They're hunting. They're not just like bored. I mean, it could be early in the morning, and I'm thinking, I mean, it's on them. I mean, the birds it don't hurt me any, but I'm like, well, no wonder, guys. I mean,
and who do they blame? Or not blame, but they're like, oh, it's so crowded here.
It's slow.
It's like, look at yourself.
Yeah.
It's like I was just thinking about this, right? I mean, talking to my cronies, dude, I could keep myself busy and for a lifetime here in California.
I know.
With the opportunity here from the Northeast all the way down to your hood, and then even busier when we get some weather. I mean, and if I wanted to dabble like I do with a couple states, I mean, there's plenty of opportunity here. I'm getting tired of, like hearing, we don't have the opportunity. There was less opportunity when I was growing up. Like YOLO Refuge wasn't even there. The expansion of some of these refuges weren't expanded. The island I shoot right now wasn't even flooded yet. Wow. So to me, there's like more opportunity. Yeah, there's some more folk out there, although license sales, minus this year, have apparently been down since like the mid 70s, right? But I mean, everybody says, I don't believe it. There's so many people out there. But, well, look at yourself. Like you just said, look in the mirror, maybe hide a little better or put that mojo. I don't know,
change
there's a
it
lot
up.
Of variables. Yeah, it's just
change it up. If what you're doing is not working, then change it up.
True. But do they do it? I don't know. I mean, they may be reluctant to. I mean, I'm not doing anything special, guys. I'm not a stage caller. I don't sound the best.
Or if you see somebody that's doing well, try to mimic what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Maybe they have avians like you do, and maybe they have a boat like you do, and maybe they call like you do, but they don't shoot the bird numbers. Well, maybe get out there earlier, maybe cover up a little better.
Yeah.
Exactly. Just you got to change things,
Mm-hmm.
If it ain't working. Now,
maybe
when everything goes well, I like your comment. What you said is, if the biggest thing to me, if you're on the X and you in the right spot, you don't even really have to do anything besides let them get in and shoot them.
Exactly.
Because they already want to be there. You don't have to convince them. Mm-hmm. You don't have to let them know. They have it in their mind that that's where they're going already, whether you were there or not. Now, you want it to look realistic. That way they're at ease and they commit just like they normally would if it was real birds, But in other words, they're already made up that's where they're going.
100%. And you guys have been there. You guys may sound like, let's just take the refuge for instance. You guys were maybe off the X a little there, but you guys sounded way better than these guys calling, but the birds are going there because that's where they want to be. It doesn't matter all the time on how you call or what you sound like. If they want to be there, they're going to be there. I just off the X sounded way better than these guys.
Yep.
Didn't get the birds.
Yes, sir.
A lot of variables. A lot of guys just need to look in the mirror to maybe reset. And I don't know, I grew up with some old timers, and just a different, what I consider, I don't know if it's a different way of hunting, but just
well, I mean, explain that. What do you like? What did they do that you feel like was?
I was just maybe mentored. Let me just say that. I had my pops. I don't know if a lot of people getting in, maybe had the great mentorship to know, hey, one more pass on these birds. That's a phrase that I don't know if a lot of people even know anymore, right? How many times has that snubbed us?
Oh,
right.
One more pass and then they bounce out. You're like, oh, well.
But they were there, but we wanted them closer.
Yeah.
That's not synonymous with a lot of guys anymore. One more pass. I look at stuff too. I'm just trying to look at the whole culture. Maybe they just didn't have the mentorship. They got out there and with their buddies, not necessarily an older guy. They kind of were out there with their buds and they were shooting, and they kind of never progressed into really working these birds all the time. Everybody's going to get lucky. You know that. These guys that are shooters, they will get lucky and get in their birds and think they know what they're doing. But in general, they're not consistent, and getting them in. So I just think, I think it's just the mentorship. And I think that goes hand in hand with Duck. And for sure, it's great to have someone to kind of learn from. You need to. And I think some of these folks didn't have maybe that great leadership. Maybe who they were going out with were shooters, and then it just spawns in that culture, Yeah. So that's all, that's just, that's what my approach to it, having someone to teach you the ropes, working birds feet down. I mean, you always try for that. It doesn't always happen. We're realistic, right? We're out here in California. we don't have the weather. Sometimes these birds just aren't going to come in that close, So,
well, one of the things I get a lot, and because I got to walk that line to where some dudes are, some dudes don't want the mentor, or they just do what they want. And then there's the line of people like, hey, I don't have the mentor. I don't know anybody. Like, so I try to walk that line and try to be sensitive on both the ways, like, okay, well, man, I'm sorry. But then again, that's what we try to do these podcasts for, more so than the YouTube channel, because the YouTube channel is just us hunting. We don't, a lot of times want to take the time. I mean, we try to throw in what we can to try to teach, but it's like, that's what these are, where we can actually sit down, talk to different individuals, talk about tactics, talk about ways that lessons we've learned. I shouldn't say tactics because it sounds like I'm some elite sniper or whatever, but it's like, but for reals though, like, talk about people with experience like yourself that's been doing it for however long you said, 35 years.
Well, I've been out there since 1986, so 34 years.
That's a lot of experience, How many mistakes have you made in that 34 years?
Yeah, and we all know, right? You learn from your mistakes.
Exactly.
Was I just G from the start? Absolutely not.
Right. And you're not even trying to say that,
No, and my Instagram page might be misconstrued, but I've been doing this, and I just got on the IG, but it's just something I've just go out there, try to kill ducks. I try to hunt up ducks.
Yeah.
That's all I'm trying to do.
And are you doing that to impress anybody or to put pictures? Absolutely not. You're doing it because you love it. That's what you've been doing it way before all this stuff,
Exactly. A little bit of it was kind of like, because I like I said, I just got on IG. I was kind of, I'm 40 now, and I'm kind of on that cusp of the whole social media thing. It took me forever to get on some of these things, and I was kind of like getting on and like looking like, what is all this stuff? I mean, not that shooting spoonies is bad, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too much, but it was like, man, when did all this become kind of cool to post? And I know you got to look at the landscape. If we're not shooting some spoonies for some of these places, we're not shooting anything at all,
Well, and that's the thing. Me and Travis and them were talking about it. I think me and you were talking about on the phone the other day, and I want to, because like I said, all the different variety of listeners, that are listening to this podcast, it's like I get that side of the mentality, like, but then on the same token, it's just the stage of being a duck hunter, whatever stage you're in. And there's nothing wrong with being in the first one, and there's nothing wrong with being the dude that don't even care about shooting. He's 80 years old, and he just wants to take young guys out, mentor them, and don't even pull the trigger. Because I've been in the stage where I want to shoot 7 birds. That's what I wanted to do. I was a young guy. I wanted to shoot 7 birds. I didn't care if it was 5 hen green wings and 2 drake shovelers. I was like, I got 7 birds, man. I mean, that's an accomplishment. That's an accomplishment, right, for a guy that don't already know what he's doing. But then as you progress, you're like, okay, I'm shooting because I want, what it tastes like. Oh, it's plumed out. Blah, it's all these stages you go through in life, and it's pretty interesting to watch yourself.
You're absolutely right. It is. It's stages, right? Just like with life, how you're into some lowriders growing up. Now you're into lifted trucks, right? I mean, it's just all. You part
your hair down the middle, and then you get older and you buzz cut it.
Remember, we used to bleach our hair back in the day, dude. Bleach the tips. So you're absolutely, it is. And I got to do a better job of I don't really call anybody out, but it was just.
No, and I wasn't taking it that way.
The whole landscape of out here,
Because I'm definitely wasn't disagreeing with you. I'm on the same page as you. But I do see the other side, because I have been the person like, why this, why that? And then after you start hearing people really break down, and I'm talking about newer hunters, I'm not talking about just young guys like 10, 12 years old. I'm saying new. They could be 30, they could be 40, they could be brand new. But it's like the mentality, I'm like, you know what? I guess you forget what that's like to be in that phase.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then you start getting, these guys doing this. But I think, I'm pretty sure what you were referring to when you say that about what's up with like the spoonie thing. And you're not necessarily saying it's wrong to shoot spoonies, but what you're saying is when you're coming across there maybe disrespectfully to the animals or the game that you harvest, and then just the attitude, like you said, like, I'm big bad guy because I shot 7 drake spoonies. It's like, well, no one is. If they shot 7 drake mallards or if they shot 7 drake spoonies, you're hunting. It's not bragging rights, and that's where the attitude's gone wrong. Yeah,
exactly. And I think some of it's social media too. It's and this is a sport. You want to be looked at. You want to be, and I don't know. I don't know. The landscape to me, I just wish I want to help change some stuff. I don't know
I know
where
what
I'm
you're
going
saying
with this.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Let me tell people this. But if you don't care, I don't know if yours is you have to be approved to follow you, but on Instagram, I'm sure people are like, well, tell us his Instagram. Now we're wondering what his page looks like. He's not, like he said, he's not trying to grow no big page, but he puts ducks on his page, and who doesn't like to look at that if you're a duck hunter? So RC underscore outboards. RC, R as in Rick, C as in Charlie underscore outboards. You can check him out on Instagram. But hey, also I want to tell you, man, thanks for your service too. He is a veteran too, so we appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem. No problem.
So
good.
Maybe a little bit jumping on the Delta, because that just seems like a big scary world to someone like me that hasn't been out there. I've been out there fishing a little bit, but as far as duck hunting, you hear all the horror stories and stuff like that. But I mean, let's just start off like with tides. Like, is that as intimidating as it sounds like, the way tides come in and out? I mean, is there something you can go look at online and just kind of?
Yeah. We'll get you. There's all these tide tide websites, right? One I use is saltwatertides.com. There's a few of them out there. But yeah, they can be intimidating, especially if you're new. You don't want to get stuck out there on a change, or you miss the tide, and that's another at least 4 hours. Depends on how low it is. You could be out there. You could calling the wife saying, I'm going to be home at 10 o'clock tonight,
Oops.
Yeah. So it is intimidating for sure, especially for new folk, right? But it's a major player out there. It kind of helps you and hurts you sometimes too. Sometimes, when you're really savvy and these tides, sometimes I don't even want to shoot out of my boat. I can get to my spots and have water in my area. I'll leave my boat somewhere where I have water, right? And go shoot and be able to shoot there, stay past the low tide where everybody else that may have used their boat has got to leave prior to that. Now I'm there by myself. Because I kept my boat somewhere where and I walked in.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, and if it's a decent tide of like, hey, I really got nothing going on, I do want to shoot out of my boat. Then I'll get in there usually, and I'll stay and play. If it's, if I think, it's okay, I could be out of here by 3, or whatever, So it's a real deal. It doesn't come in where I'm at super fast or go down super fast, so you have time to play, but you definitely need to be conscious of it, because you guys could be stuck out there, especially if you're going to try to shoot out of your boat the whole time, Yeah. But, and it depends on where you're at too. Like, you got the South Delta, or let's say right around the whole Grizzly area or that, it may not affect you too much. There's some deeper spots there,
with mallards, obviously they don't want that deep water because they're puddlers. They like to feed and stuff.
Not typically, right? You want the shallower marshes, and there is a lot of shallow marsh there, but the tide may not affect you as much. Get down to mud or anything like that in some of those spots down there.
How sticky is some of that mud? Is it just kind of like some of the refuges where feels like it's double plowed? Obviously, nobody's going out there plowing, so it shouldn't be as bad as it probably is in a refuge.
It's really not that bad. When some of these islands first flooded, they were, because you still had like that topsoil on there, right? But a lot of these islands and places have been flooded for years and years. So, there's nowhere out there really where I'm sinking up to past my shin tops, and where I'm going. Yeah, it's a fairly easy walk for sure. Yeah.
And then just, I guess, typical mallard type days or duck days where the wind's out of the north, it's cool. You're just gonna, wherever, even if you're in the Delta or in the refuge, you're gonna do good, right? It's like
I can't confirm nor deny that. No. Yeah. Typically Delta, rule of thumb. Mallards wise, right? gray days aren't really great days, but things, you can still get birds obviously, but mallards typically that north wind, 5 to 15 miles an hour tops, tops. And yeah, clear north wind, maybe a few clouds in the sky, after the storm. That's mallard country. That's what mallards love.
Sounds like what I like.
Very specific. Yeah. Maybe a few scattered small clouds, not too in and out, not too high. Not too high.
Exactly. I'm seeing it right now in my head.
We all are. It just got kind of starting to get a little quiet there. We're all just kind of daydreaming.
It's a beautiful thing. You can get them in the gray, but typically gray days aren't necessarily greenhead days or mallard days. But it can happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's duck hunting. I mean, that's pretty, like you said, that's pretty much wherever you go. That's what you're going to be looking for
exactly.
that kind of stuff.
Exactly. Some wind, some Mother Nature to help out always, for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's so much to learn about it. It's like you said, we can get in a deep, dark hole. I mean, what are you kind of thinking? I'll just go down this rabbit hole. What are you kind of thinking about the pintail limit? You think we're going to see 2 this year? Sure, talking hard about it right now.
They are. I don't know if I have a lot of faith always in the feds. Mm-hmm. I know we have enough data because we didn't do that bird count last year, right? Because of COVID, right? But there is so much data that it's not necessarily the be all end all that we didn't have it. Mm-hmm. Honestly, gosh, I don't think it's going to change this year.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I like the approach that Delta has taken on some of this stuff too, about the numbers of drakes to hens. Mm-hmm. That is maybe causing these hens up in these breeding grounds to just get overworked, because the disproportionate amount of drakes to hens. So every time that hen gets up off the nest, she's getting bombarded, so Delta wants to, up the limit to 3. I think 3 sprig. I don't know if it's 3 drakes only, but I could see that. I mean, absolutely. And all these guys here in California that shoot the rice would say the same thing. Yeah. Look at the numbers when they're flying around. You see like 6 to 8 drakes pretty much to one hen all the time.
Yeah, totally.
If it was up to CWA or California and the populations we have here, it'd be a no-brainer. But unfortunately, it seems like we're judged on the whole, all the flyways. And until that changes, we're just going to be talking and talking. Yeah. We're going to advocate for it, but until the feds...
Which doesn't really make sense because every state has different bird regulations, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you go to the Atlantic, they can only shoot, 1 or 2 mallards, something like that.
Yeah, especially the Atlantic. Here. Yeah. The Atlantic is really bad. Their mallard count has gone down. So it is... Well, and look at like the Mississippi flyway. I mean, and this is another... maybe topic for another one if I'm invited back. I mean, about these limits here, look at Arkansas, 4 mallards, 5 ducks total. Mm-hmm. Texas, 5 mallards, 6 ducks total. Louisiana, 6 ducks, 4 mallards total. Kansas, you guys know, it's 5 mallards there, right?
Yeah.
6 ducks total.
Yeah.
And they shoot a ton of mallard, and and it brings me to the here. We have these. Potentially, they say overcrowdedness or these refuges are crowded, and look at all the other states out here shooting 7. I'm a proponent of dropping it a little to help the cause, with getting some folks out of these refuges potentially. They say our mallard numbers here aren't exactly great, with our habitat. Why not drop it at least 1? But they're going to tell me the science supports shooting 7, But, and then they tell me too, the national average is only about 2 to 3 ducks per person anyway. So why should we drop the whole overall limit when nobody really achieves that anyway?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, and it's like, yeah, you're right. But that really doesn't, meet the rubber doesn't meet the pavement or whatnot to me. It doesn't transcend, I would like to see myself and other folks get out of the marsh earlier. We could do that. I could just shoot 6 ducks, but you want to achieve that limit too.
Yeah.
I think just because we have the ability to shoot 7 doesn't mean it's the best for our state. Maybe for Washington it works, but not necessarily here.
That can add up, man. Like you said, eliminating just 1 duck, and like I said, we've talked before, I'd be willing to do that. That is a substantial.
Like 1 duck to get you off like anywhere or out of a place sooner.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
because all it does is help everybody out.
It does,
and it brings more birds, so that's a win-win.
And 6 guys, and everybody listening, or who's going to listen. 6 is a substantial number. I think.
Yeah,
it's still pretty liberal.
Yeah.
And what I want to try to say to some leadership folk is, if you think we're going to have a mass exodus, if we drop from 7 to 6, then we don't need them anyway.
Yeah.
If they think, it's like, come on,
it ain't gonna stop.
We're not. No, look at. We're. Half the country shoots only 6 ducks total. Some of them are only 5, and they're thriving. They have still a ton of duck hunters.
Yeah.
I think, just little things here to help out, because I'm trying to look at big picture here for California too.
Well, and how many days out of the season, including myself, do you ever shoot a full limit? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, see, and that's what they say. But their argument for that is nobody shoots a full limit. Not that many people do. So why should we lower it? Well,
right. But what I'm saying is, I don't know. Like, I think I've said this before when we've been on hunts. Like 6 birds, that's 5 birds. 5 birds that's a good day of hunting.
Yeah. It is. It used to, remember, Titus, were you ever shooting when it was 4 ducks?
I don't remember that.
No.
I must have been not hunting yet or something, or 2.
It was 4 ducks for a long time.
That's crazy.
Then it was 5. I don't ever remember it being 6.
Do you remember what year that was when it was 4?
Yeah, it was in the
early 90s.
It was in the 90s. Yeah.
90s?
It was, and it was a split season back then.
Oh, was it really?
It was. There was split seasons, man. And I'm a proponent. This state and the whole CWA agenda is liberalness, and I get it to a certain extent. I'm all about the days. If we can take that 105, absolutely, let's do that. But the 7, man. And with these issues they seem to be having on refuges with crowdedness and and the overall experience, well, let's maybe try to turn out some folks. Let's take one little step here, and let's try to drop the limit to 6 and see if that helps the cause. And go do that route for a little while, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to lose anybody.
No.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
From 7 to 6, so
no, people aren't. They're not going to stop.
How
many did we lose when they dropped the pintail limit again a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Don't think we lost very many.
I don't think we lost any. We didn't lose any. See, and that's a good one I'd like to bring up. Yeah, because it's been 1 for a while. It was 2 for a while. It was 1 even prior to that. And we got to, and it's like, if we drop the limit to 7, to 6, look what else we have out there that is so liberal. Look at the goose limits we have, guys. Dude,
I know.
So
that's a lot of work to clean 10 honkers out, man.
Dude, what 20? What is it? Is it 20 snows? I thought I heard somebody say 25, but it's 20, isn't it? It's 20 snows and 10 darts. But so we've created positions too. In a way, it's like, if you're not a duck hunter because your rice spread just doesn't produce anymore, it's like, how many positions did we create? Goose hunters, goose hunting. Oh my gosh, is everybody a goose hunter now? With a trailer and like 2,000 decoys, and just running up and down 99 or 5, trying to be like, running traffic, it's like, oh my gosh. So we've got all these things going on here in California. Man. People shooting it, trying to get their 20 geese staying out all day, or their 30 geese, pushing those snow geese even higher because they want to, it's just,
going back to what you said earlier, there's so much opportunity that I'll raise my both hands. I haven't even scratched the surface of not only hunting different places in California, but different birds, different styles, setups.
Absolutely.
I mean, like you said, you can never leave. It's just fun leaving, like, because I know you've traveled too. I mean, it's a blast just going on a guide trip, and there's nothing like it. But
absolutely,
my goodness, there's so much. I mean, it could take us for me to get down south over the pass down to the south. I mean, that's a 6-hour drive, 5-hour drive just to get, and I've even still I'm only in the north end of LA. I got to drive forever to get down to San Diego.
Think if you have a boat, this just gives you more opportunity, right?
Oh yeah.
You could start, and then you have the river systems. I'm talking like, let's just say from like Orland all the way down to past LB or wherever that, your San Joaquin, that in times when we have weather, right? I mean, other than that, you got all these refuges. And if you take a trip out of state once a year, go to your Oregon, your Idaho, your Washington, you can, you got opportunity. I'm only scratching the surface where I shoot in the Delta, guys. I kind of stick to my hood. I ventured out a little, but there's endless opportunities down there. Granted, it's better with a boat, right? And pretty much all traversed by boat. But I mean, that's something you build up too. Not everybody was gifted or, very few come out and buy a $30,000 boat right off the bat.
Yeah.
No, none of us started that way, right? You just progress like you would. You got a yak, you got a boat. Yep. You started at the refuge, then you've migrated out of there. Maybe you got into a club one year. You got a better job. You bought yourself a boat. Now you're doing Delta stuff. Yeah. Anybody can do it.
Yep.
Anybody can do it.
Hey, we all do what we want. We're like, man, if you're not into something, you'll be like, man, I can't believe who would spend $80,000 on a wakeboarding boat. But it's like, because that's what they love to do.
Exactly.
And to them, that's nothing. That might be the only thing they do. Whereas people think that about us. Oh, that duck hunting. I can't believe you spent all that money on gear.
You guys spend so much money. It's like, yeah, well, look at you and your road bike, your felt road bike for $7,000.
It's just everybody's got their deal, Everybody's got their...
Exactly. It's a sport, right? It's expensive. I mean, it's almost a sport is hashtag or expensive.
Hey, it's not expensive. Don't tell me. My wife... No. Good thing my wife don't listen to this. Yeah, no.
But anything you do is going to...
there's a price
to pay. Yeah.
I still think fishing is a darker hole than duck hunting, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Oh, how much plastic lures do you have? How many worms?
It adds up, dude. $400 rod, $200 reel. Oh my goodness! You just keep
$35,000 boat, and that's probably a cheap. That's probably a cheap bass boat. Yeah.
Every niche has its expensive deal.
Yeah.
But bottom line is, hey, love duck hunting. We're at that stage. I told Thomas, I'm basically, the first month after season's over, I'm just kind of like, I'm good. I need a break. Your brain keeps thinking, I got to get my gear ready. And you're like, oh, I'm not even duck hunting Saturday. But now it's starting to slowly roll back around. I'm already thinking, like, we're already making plans for next year and where we're going to go.
Yeah. You're right. There is like that purgatory stage where you're kind of in between. It really is. It's kind of, for me, and I'm sure for a lot of folk, I mean, you kind of get depressed a little bit because you've been doing it for like 120 days, from September all the way into Feb.
No, right? It's like, what am I going to do?
Yeah, and it's kind of been your culture for that long. And then, but I'm always glad it ends because I leave nothing. My motto is just leave nothing on the table, man. Just exhaust everything so you don't think, because you have 8 months to think about. Oh, I should have went here and at least looked at this. Yeah.
Or I should have went here.
Yeah, right?
Totally. I've had that regret so many times.
Yeah. So I try to leave it out and you're exhausted and you're kind of in between, like, oh man.
Do I want to get up again?
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you. But I feel like I put it all out there this year pretty much. I don't think I held back too much.
That's good. Yeah.
Jobs. So what do you how many days of the season do you think you hunt?
Oh man. Well, I at least shoot 3 days a week.
Okay.
Because that's my schedule for work. So, and then I'll dabble in between there. So,
I like that word. Dabble. That sounds like my brother. That must be a PG&E deal. Like, it's not. He's not exactly using the word dabble, but he finds little ways to little nooks and crannies to sneak out there.
Yeah, right. So with a 3-day a week, and then you got your vacay, your sick time. Gosh, it's a lot. I mean, I could probably get on the calendar and average it out, but it's a lot. I mean, I try to, but I set myself up for that too. I try to work as much as I can.
You work to duck hunt.
Yeah, kill all the OT and get all my jobs done. And so I'm kind of chill mode, or coast from October to February as best I can. Work will always dictate that to a certain degree, but yeah, I go a lot.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
ain't nothing wrong with that.
No, it's what I love to do. So you say you make time for it.
That's one way, because that's week on, week off schedule I have. Sarah's like, you just like that job because of the schedule, and I'm like, yeah.
Well, yeah, that's a perk.
She's all, because you can go duck hunt all the time. I'm like, yeah. Well, I'm glad you figured that out because it's the truth. So, well, man, Kevin, thanks for coming on. I guess we gotta cut it at some point, but yeah, we're definitely gonna have you on again, and we'll talk about some of those other things we were mentioning. So,
I hope I could reach the listeners. I was just kind of talking. Yeah,
that's what we do. It's all chill.
I got no secrets, guys. It's use the same calls and everything else everybody else is using. That's all I could say too. Refine your craft to these guys coming up, and they're gonna, but just get better at everything.
Yeah, stick with it. Practice. Work hard at it. You're gonna by time that goes by, you're gonna get better.
Yeah. And real quick, to some of these guys out there listening, hey, maybe this year you guys go down to a 3-inch. Try to work those birds in closer. Get rid of those 3.5s, guys. Bring them in closer. Try that.
Yep. Yep.
Let's try to get rid of those 3.5s. Let's refine our craft, guys. Get them in close.
Yep. Agreed.
It's more fun.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you on the next one.